Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Good evening, everyone. Today we have Monday Sutta discussion for the 80th time, and we've been talking different suttas for the past time from Samyutta Nikaya. Recently we have started discussing suttas from Anguttara Nikaya, and for today's discussion I'm going to be discussing a very interesting sutta wherein which you might perhaps have not listened to, known to this kind of a topic. Buddha used a word called vadhu, Ariyassa Vinay vadhu. Ariyassa Vinay vadhu means Buddha talks about, I'm sorry to say this, I mean the literal meaning shouldn't be taken. Vadhu means killing, but Buddha used the word vadhu in a figurative way. So, which means if any of his followers, monastics or other people, do not want to listen to him, so that he is, he's, giving them the spiritual death. So that's why I gave the topic as what is spiritual death in the noble training according to the Kesi Sutta. So spiritual death in terms of someone's case where that particular person does not want to listen to the Buddha or a spiritual companion for practicing Dhamma to attain Nibbana. This is an interesting sutta where we can see a very beautiful story and some figurative things. That's how Buddha talked about how can someone be dead according to the noble, according to his or her, nature of practicing the noble training. Okay. So the sutta's name is Kesi Sutta, which is the which appears in the Anguttara Nikaya Chatukka Nipata. So what we can understand at the beginning is this. Let's read this in Pali. Savatti Nidana Atako Kesi Asadhamma Sarati Yena Bhagava Tena Upasankamitva Bhagavantan Abhivaditva Ekamantan Niseti Ekamantan Nisenanko Kesing Asadhamma Sarating Bhagava Ita Buddha. So this is a discussion between a horse trainer and the Buddha. So the beautiful thing is that Buddha and the horse trainer, they were both talking about how they can train, how they can guide, how they've been guiding so far their students. So what they're gonna do when, what are the basic ways of practicing training their students, and what if there would be some students who do not follow the guidelines or training, and what we're gonna do with those students. And this is what they've been talking. But there are interesting things to understand about the noble training. So what happens is then Kesi, the horse trainer, went up to the Buddha, bowed, and sat down to one side. Everybody who comes to see the Buddha knows how to sit down, so you normally sit down to one side as a respect. The Buddha said to him, Kesi, you known as a horse trainer, just how do you guide a horse in training? Okay, so it's pretty clear. So let me tell you the meaning of Kesi. So the meaning of Kesi means hairy. So Kesa is hair. So when you say Kesi, that means hairy. Looks like that I mean, it could have been taken in a form of his hair, I mean the name. Anyways, so Buddha asked the question, Twancha quasi kesi sanyato asadamma sarati katampana twang kesi asadamman vineseti. Kesi, you known as a horse trainer, just how do you guide a horse in training? Okay. Aham ko bhante asadamman sanhenapi vinemi parusenapi vinemi sanha parusenapi vinemi. So he has three techniques to train horses. Okay. Let's take a look. Sir, I guide a horse in training, sometimes gently, sometimes harshly, and sometimes both gently and harshly. So that means he uses a mild training for some horses, and he has to use kind of a harsh training for some horses, and he has to use the both techniques, both harsh, both gentle and harsh, or both mild and harsh training for some horses. So in here, what you can understand by sanhenapi is gentle type of training. Parusenapi means harsh kind of training. Sanha parusenapi means it's a combination of the both. Okay. Now Buddha goes on to a hardcore question. Sachete kesi Assa Dhammo sanhenapi vinayang na upeti parusenapi vinayang na upeti sanha parusenapi vinayang na upeti kinti nang karoseti. So this hardcore question goes this way. Kesi, what do you do with a horse in training that does not follow these forms of training? Now, the Buddha asks, what about a horse who might not follow any of these guidelines? I mean, who doesn't want to receive any of these training, be that mild training or gentle training or harsh training or the both? Okay, what was his answer? Okay, sache me bhante assa dhammo sanhenapi vinayang na upeti parusenapi vinayang na upeti sanha parusenapi vinayang na upeti hanami nam bhante. So that's what he does. So that means in that case, so I kill it. So if the horse does not want to get the training in a gentle way or a harsh way or in a both way, so at that point Kesi normally kills those horses. Why is that? Because I don't want to disgrace my profession or lineage of my teachers. So Kesi was a very famous, popular kind of horse trainer. So he doesn't want to take a chance of a horse who might not want to, who might not want to follow his training. So that's why he normally kills that kind of a horse who doesn't want to have any kind of training. Hanaminam bante tankissa hetu mame acharya kulassa avanno ahositi. So that means he wants to follow the lineage of his teachers, his forefathers. That means his forefathers had no horse, apparently no horse who could not get trained. So all the horses got any of these three training, either gentle training or harsh training, or the combination of the both gentle and harsh training. So if I find any horse who might not want to follow any of this training, I'm gonna kill. That's what I'm doing for them as a respect for my forefathers, respect my lineage. And now his counter question is, Bhagava pana bhante anuttaro purisa dhamma sarati katam pana bhante bhagava purisa dhammam vineti. Now this is a good question. Before I translate this, question raised by Kesi, I wanted to think about an interesting, an interesting word that's called Purusha Dhamma Sarati. Now, the host trainer's name was given as host trainer's appellation, or the name was given as Assa Dhamma Sarati, whereas the Buddha's name was given as Purusha Dhamma Sarati. Now, you all know Purusha Dhamma Sarati is a quality, one of the 9 great qualities of the Buddha. I think that's a 6th quality. So, which means in short, peerless guide of tameable person. That means Buddha had this exquisite and this noble quality of taming the people who are taming the people who could not get trained in any other way, right? So the host trainer called Assa Dhamma Sarati, called Kesi, he asked the question, how do you train your students? How do you train your students? And the Buddha said, Ahanko Kesi Purusha Dhammang Sanhena Pivinemi Parusena Pivinemi Sanha Parusena Pivinemi Tatridang Kesi Sanhasming. Okay, now Buddha wants to clearly differentiate his 3 types of training. So first he explains to us about the gentle training, next harsh training, after that it's going to be the combination of the both training. So first gentle training, Tatridam Kesi Sanhasming iti kaya sucharitang iti kaya sucharitasya vipako iti vachi sucharitang iti vachi sucharitasya vipako iti mano sucharitang iti mano sucharitasya vipako iti deva iti manusa. Now, what's the nature of his gentle training? Like, the gentle training is this. This is good conduct by way of body, speech, and mind. This is the result of good conduct by way of body, speech, and mind. This is life as a deity or a deva. This is life as a human. Now, Buddha's gentle training means that he instructs followers, students this way. This is the good kaya kamma. This is the good speech, vachikamma. This is the good mind. This is the manokamma. And this is the result of that good mind. This is the result of that good speech. This is the result of that good actions. As well as he talks about the gods, our deities, as well as the humans. Now that is the gentle training, okay? So that is a gentle training. So what is the harsh training Buddha sometimes had to use? Tatridang kesi parusasmin iti kaya duccharitang iti kaya duccharitasya vipako iti vachi duccharitang iti vachi duccharitasya vipako iti mano duccharitang iti mano duccharitasya vipako iti nirayo iti tirachanayoni iti petti visayo. So that's the complete opposite of the gentle training. So this is bad conduct by way of body, speech, and mind. This is the result of bad conduct by way of body, speech, and mind. This is life in apayas, hell. This is life as an animal. This is life as a ghost. Now this is his harsh training. Now you might perhaps think about some of the talks given by some monks and some teachers when they always talk about the Peta Visayas and about the Ducharitas, about the bad kammas. I mean, that is called harsh training, right? But when they only talk about the good side of actions, I mean, good speech, good mind, good action, and when they only talk about the humans and the deities, that is gentle training. But if any of the Dhamma speaker is going to talk about the bad side of evil side of good actions, I would say bad speech, bad mind, bad action, as well as if they're going to talk about the ghost, animal kingdom, and that is harsh training, because one doesn't need to go to that extent. But there may be times that a speaker may have to go to that kind of extent, because I guess maybe at that point a speaker may have observed such a training is in need for those kind of people. So anyways, that is called harsh treatment, be that you know, the Buddha or somebody else. But if anybody is going to use what do you call the good side of any activities, as well as talk about the human world and the deities, that is gentle training. But if any Dhamma speaker is going to talk about you know, the bad side of any activity, I mean bad speech, I mean I want to explain that. So bad speech means they're going to talk about the repercussions of bad speech. They're going to talk about the repercussions of bad mind. They're going to talk about the repercussions of bad, what do you call, you know, bad action. So that is what we call harsh training. So some people don't need that extent because they already understand in the gentle training, so they don't need that point. But some people may need. If a Dhamma speaker talks about animal kingdom and about different ghosts, petas, talk about peta vattu, that means harsh training, because that is what we understand from this sutta. And what is the combination of these two training? Tatridam kesi sanha parusasmin iti kaya sucharitam iti kaya sucharitasya vipako iti kaya ducharitam iti kaya ducharitasya vipako iti vachi sucharitam iti vachi sucharitasya vipako iti vachi ducharitam iti vachi ducharitasya vipako iti mano sucharitam iti mano sucharitasya vipako iti mano ducharitam iti mano ducharitasya vipako iti deva iti manusa iti nirayo iti tirachanayoni iti petti visayoti. So that means the third training, which is a combination of the both, is what we call Santa Parusasmin. So at some points, Buddha had to use this third training for some people. I think what I understand from my reading of suttas and different other things, Buddha had to use this combination method training. That means a combination of both gentle training and harsh training. You know, was you know, numerous times. I mean, and Buddha had to use this combination method of training, both gentle and harsh, for many people, because of different reasons. We're going to be looking at those occasions and people and all that after this. Okay. But the interesting thing comes up next. I mean, that is the game changer. Now, the counter question was raised by Kesi, host trainer. Sache te bhante purisa dhammo sanhena vinayang na upeti parusena vinayang na upeti sanha parusena vinayang na upeti kintinang bhagava karote. What if there is any student who might not be able to get any of these three training? I mean, who might not be fitting for, who might not be eligible for, who might not be able to you know, get trained in any of these three you know, trainings. So what do you do with a person in training who does not follow these forms of training? What was Buddha's answers? Sache me kesi purisa dhammo sanhena vinayang na upeti parusena vinayang na upeti sanha parusena vinayang na upeti hanami nang keseti. That's a bit terrible, I mean, in the literal way, but it's given in a figurative way. In that case, Kesi, I kill them. So Buddha says, I kill them. I mean, if anyone is not, you know, trying to get the training in out of these three training methods, either gentle, harsh, or the both of those two, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill them. But you have to understand, this killing is not the literal killing. This killing is figurative. But when it comes to the horse killer, Kesi's killing, it is true. I mean, that is a literal killing. I mean, he definitely kills. But when it comes to Buddha, Buddha used a figurative, I would say, allegorically. He used it in a very kind of an allegorical sense to talk about this killing. It's not this literal killing. Now let's take a look at what is his killing. What is the Buddha's killing like? Because I'm going to use killing because hanami is killing in Pali, but it's not in literal sense. It's in a figurative sense, allegorical sense. Nako bhante bhagavato panati pato kappati atachapana bhagava eva maha hanaminan kesiti. I have heard that the Buddha can't do that. Buddha can't kill, because Buddha talks about a very non-violent philosophy, teaching. Let's take a look. So it's not appropriate, it's not proper or appropriate for the Buddha to kill living creatures, living beings, and yet you say you kill them. Satchang Kesi, it's true Kesi. It's not appropriate for a Tathagata or a Buddha to kill living beings. Apichaso purisa dhammo sanhena vinayang upeti. Parusena vinayang upeti. Sanha parusena vinayang upeti. But when a person in training does not follow any of these forms of training, gentle, harsh, and the combination of both gentle and harsh, the Tathagata, the Buddha, does not think they are worth advising or instructing, and neither do their sensible spiritual companions. I mean, now, not only Buddha thinks that he's gonna spiritually kill people, but also the wise beings, I mean, who do not think that that these particular individuals are worth, worth advising or instructing. That is their killing at this point. It's given a figurative sense, not that actual literal killing. Na tathagato vattabbang anusasitabbang manyati. Right? Napi vinyo sabrahmachari vattabbang anusasitabbang manyanti. Vado hesa kesi ariyasa vine yang na tathagato vattabbang anusasitabbang manyati. Napi vinyo sabrahmachari vattabbang anusasitabbang manyanti. So killing in the noble training is not the literal killing. That means stop advising, instructing followers, those kind of students and followers who don't try to understand, who don't try to get any of these trainings. So what the Buddha and other spiritual companions do is that they stop instructing the noble path to those individuals. That is killing, which is done by these noble people. I mean, that should not be taken in a literal sense, but Buddha uses the same word. It was intentional, but Buddha doesn't, because Buddha says karma is intention. Buddha's intention is not to kill somebody, in the literal sense, but he wanted to say that this killing in the noble training is stopping, stopping and then walking away from these individuals who do not get trained in any of these three types of training. So hi nuna bhanti suvadho hoti yang na tathagato vattabbang anusasitabbang manyati napi vinyo sabrahmachari vattabbang anusasitabbang manyanti. Okay, well, they are definitely dead. Okay, so the Kesi emphasizes that yes, I mean, when the Buddha and other spiritual companions, I mean, those wise noble beings, stop advising, instructing those kind of untamable individuals, they are spiritually dead. That's what we use the term spiritual death in our topic. What is spiritual death in the noble training? So if the Buddha or any other noble individuals, I mean wise individuals, stop giving you advice, that means you are dead, because you don't get that advice anymore. What was his thanking note at the end? Abhikkantang bhante, abhikkantang upasakammam bhante, bhagava dharitu ajjatange panupetang saranang gatanti. Excellent, sir, excellent, sir. From this day forth, may the Buddha remember who has gone for refuge for life. I don't know whether he changed his mind in not killing the disobedient or any host who might not be part of those three kind of training. Anyways, but he became a follower. Let's get into more information in this topic. Now, you all know there are three types of noble training. The first one is gentle way, second one is harsh way, third one is a combination of those two. So the gentle way of training is that the Buddha or any other wise individuals, I mean I would say spiritual companion, only teaches good mind, good speech, good action, as well as their repercussions. In addition to those two areas, they also talk about the devas, deities, and the human world. I mean, that is gentle training. So in the gentle training, Buddha or any other wise being never talk about the apayas, animal kingdom, or peta visayas. So if you hear a Dhamma talk, wherein which there is a focus about the peta visaya or animal kingdom, tirachana, that's not the gentle training. But there may be a certain thing that you need to understand. It could have been a combination of the both. Sometimes some Dhamma speakers want to talk about the both, touch on the both sides. But anyways, if a Dhamma talk is only focused on the good side of the wholesome side of kammas, I would say kaya kamma, vachi kamma, the Pali word is kaya sucharita, vachi sucharita, mano sucharita, as well as their repercussions, followed by the deities and the manusya world, human world, that is a gentle training. Whereas if there is a Dhamma talk or a teaching or training where there is a big focus on the kaya duccharita, vachi duccharita, mano duccharita, that means the bad mind, bad speech, and bad action, as well as their repercussions, followed by apayas, hells, and apayas, including animal kingdom and ghosts, that is harsh type of training. Because why a Dhamma speaker wants to go to that end without talking about the good side of actions, good side of speech, good side of mind. So if a Dhamma speaker only talks about the ghost, talks about the animal kingdom, only talks about the bad, evil aspect of any kammas and their repercussion, that is harsh treatment. I don't know whether many Dhamma speakers know about this. The third training is a combination wherein which we understand that a lot of type of trainings that Buddha had for individuals, they were based on this third training, which had a combination of the both gentle training and the harsh training. Okay. And then, okay, so let's take a look at the word called Purisa Dhammasarthi. Now, Purisa Dhammasarthi, there's no aspirate for D, the word called D. Some people use Purisa Dhammasarthi and Purisa Dhammasarthi. So there's what we call non-aspirate. So we have to decombine some words here. So when you decombine some words, we can find out Purisa Dhammasarthi. So Purisa, what is Purisa? Now, a lot of people think Purisa is a human. Not all the time, not necessarily. Buddha has talked about three kinds of Purisas: animal, tirachana Purisas, manusya Purisas, amanusya Purisas. So we call them tirachana Purisa means animal persons, manusya Purisa means human persons, amanusya Purisa means non-human persons. examples. What are the instances where Buddha tamed those untamed animal persons, Tirachana Purisas, and human persons, Manusa Purisas, and non-human persons called Amanusa Purisas? Let's take a look at those individuals who were tamed by the Buddha. According to the Samantapasadika, which is one of the very famous Vinaya commentary, we find out that these names, the Nagaraja, one of the serpent kings called Appalala, so water-dwelling Naga, and Chulodara and Mahodara, who were said to be Naga kings who dwelled in Sri Lanka at that time, Aggisika, Dhumasika, Aravala. Now, all these are kind of nagas. There are two types of nagas. One normally based on earth. The other type of nagas based in water. So Apalala is a water-dwelling naga. So they all were mostly tamed by the Buddha. But when you come to Aggisika Naga, this naga was tamed by Majjantika, Arhant Majjantika Thera at the request of Moggali Putatisa Thera, because Moggali Putatisa Thera sent out some of the monks to different territories, and Arhant Majjantika Thera, he went to Kashmir and Gandhara, wherein which he had to tame Aggisika Naga called Aggisika. But anyways, except Aggisika and Dhumasika, I guess all the other nagas were tamed by the Buddha. And also Dhanapalaka, the elephant called Dhanapalaka. So they all were tamed by the Buddha. So they all come under animal persons. In other words, we call Tirachana Purisa. So Purisa is not only a human, it has a very broader, larger meaning. Who are the human persons? Manusa Purisas. We know Satchaka, Ambat, one of the Brahmin youths, Pokkarasati, Sonadanda, Kutadanta. So they all were tamed by the Buddha. They all are part of this Manusa Purisa category under Purisa. And who are the Amanusa Purisa? Non-human persons who were tamed by the Buddha. Yakka, the demon called Alavaka, and the demons called Suchiloma and Karaloma. So they all were categorized by Amanusa Purisa. So what you need to understand is that there are three types of Purisas. So Purisa is not necessarily a human. It can extend to different other categories. Animal persons called Tirachana Purisa. Human persons called Manusa Purisa. Amanusa Purisa means non-human persons. And Dhamma, which is this non-aspirate, we know Dhamma. Dhamma at this point means Dhammeti in Pali. Dhammeti means to domesticate. So we know sometimes, we have to take it as a spiritual domestication. So, but what Buddha did was kind of a spiritual domestication, taming them according to the Dhamma. And we also find out another category of taming different individuals. The first one is those who are trained with gentleness. So those who, that is the first kind of thing, right? So there were students who were trained with pure, gentle, training. And there were students, that's the second category, those who are trained with pure harshness, so just with the mere harsh training. And the third category of students is those who are trained with both ways, with both gentleness and harshness. And the fourth category is those who cannot be trained at all, the untamable. So we already know these three types in the sutta, but we did not touch the fourth category, wherein which we find that there are individuals who can be tamed. That's the kind of category where Buddha where Buddha give them the spiritual depth, where the wise beings give them the spiritual depth. Let's take a look at the examples, instant examples of different individuals who had this training. So Arhant Sariputta, Arhant Moggallana, Arhant Kema, Arhan Uppalavanna, Chitta Gahapati, and Visakha. So those two were lay followers. They all had this first kind of training. I mean, they all had this gentle training. So Buddha didn't need to talk about the evil side of any karma. So they all got the training. They all could get trained in this the first according to the first training called gentle training. When it comes to the individuals who had the training from harshness, I mean harsh training, we find out these suttas. Vasala Sutta, the individual, the Brahmin who called the Buddha a Vasala, outcast, right? So, but at the end, the Brahmin could understand. And when you go into Kasi Bharadwaj, I guess we had some different things, right, about harsh training. And also these two suttas, Panchadeva Dutta Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, 130, also Bala Pandita Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 129, and Yamadeva Dutta Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya, Tikka Nipata 35. So the people who had, who had the opportunity to listen to these, suttas, they got the harsh training, because Buddha had to use different other examples, especially the harsh way. Harsh way means that not an angry way. Harsh way means that Buddha had to talk about evil side of kaya kamma, vachi kamma, mano kamma, which means bad mind, bad speech, bad action, as well as their repercussions, and also about the pathas and animal kingdom and all that. What are the instances where Buddha had to use the combination type of training, the third one? If you can look at most of the longer discourses, I mean the suttas, you can find out in the Digha Nikaya, and also Chulakamma Vibhanga Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 135, Mahakamma Vibhanga Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 136. So these two suttas also, are examples. Also examples for the combination type, because Buddha had to talk about the both side. He had to use the both type of training, gentle plus harsh training, to bring them into the best training, to the noble training. Now, the interesting thing in the whole sutta is about the people who were not tamed to get the training, any of this training. So we have a couple examples. Now, if you take a look at Mahatanha Sankhya Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 38, you can find out a monk called Monk Sati. This bhikkhu called Sati, Buddha tried to, he tried so much to teach him. The thing is that do not, think that Buddha stopped right away. Buddha still attempts to teach that person, but Buddha knows that this is not going to work. But he still tries. He doesn't stop right away. He tries his best. Okay. Now, when it comes to Monk Sati, Bhikkhu Sati in the Mahatanha Sankhya Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 38, what happened was this Monk Sati believed a vijnana, consciousness, that traverses in different other life, unchanged, right? So he believed and unchanged consciousness, so which is not correct in the Buddhist teachings, but he did not drop his idea. He still believed, and Buddha said this Monk Sati is not somebody who can be who can be able to get any of those three trainings. So it's kind of an untamable person. And when it comes to Alagadupama Sutta, we have another example where we see another monk called Monk Aritta, Bhikkhu Aritta, Majjhima Nikaya 22. So Bhikkhu Aritta also could not get any of these trainings. So he was also a person who was not able to tame by the Buddha. So monk Arita, Bhikkhu Arita believed that sensual pleasures are not stumbling blocks to the celibate holy life. So then that means he had this excessive belief about sensual pleasures, and they don't make any problem towards the noble path. So he was not able to get any of the training. So he was a person who was not able to tame. And also, if you can look at Digha Nikaya 25, Udumbarika Sihanada Sutta, where we see a sutta where Paribhajaka Nigrodha and his followers, they were not able to renounce, go for refuge of the Buddha for different reasons. So that is one other example for the individuals who were not able to tame by the Buddha. So monk Sati, monk Aritta, and Paribhajaka Nigrodha and his followers. And what about other very famous examples? If you can remember, Devadatta, Buddha's cousin, right? So Buddha's cousin was a very difficult person, right? And he gave a very big time to the Buddha. So he was somebody who was not able to be tamed by the Buddha at any point, right? And he did everything he could do. I mean, the evil things. But the nice thing is that, not nice thing, I would say, the interesting thing is that this training has both diligence, and at the same time the influence from the previous life. Now, when it comes to Devadatta, and he was a monk who lived with the Buddha in the same temple, right? So the people who came from a distance, far away places, at the same time from other other realms, they were able to understand the Dhamma. But why Bhikkhu Devadatta could not understand the noble Dhamma by being together with the Buddha? The reason is that the sansaric influence, as well as how he manage his that life, right? So all that influence for his inability to understand the Dhamma. So he was also one of the untamed person. And one of the very popular examples for people who was not able to get any of the training was Channa, Bhikkhu Channa. And you know that he had inherited this mana called Kattiya mana, conceit of being a Kattiya. Some people have this mana, different manas from tribal, I would say, generational perspectives. Buddha says mana is a big problem to our noble path. If you're going to treat this one comes from this area, this country, that country, is going to be a big problem for our practice of noble path. So Channa, even he was the charioteer of the Buddha, he maintained this Kattiya mana, conceit of being a Kattiya. So because he had a lot of mana, so he could not open up his mind for a Dhamma discussion. He could not be open-minded about Dhamma. So he was always looking for an opportunity to blame the Buddha, that I was next to you, I was the one who helped you a lot, but you haven't given me any position, any considerable duty position, so that's not correct, that's not fair, or something like that. And the Buddha said it's not true, because the positions were given based on their spiritual eligibility and their past karmas and all that, considering all that. So it's not true, it's not correct the way that you are bringing up all that. And so what happened was that Buddha had to take some big decisions. So make some big decisions. So one of the things that Buddha had to do is that Ukepaniya comes, formal act of suspension. What is it? So Buddha had to do Ukepaniya kamma towards Bhikkhu Channa. Ukepaniya kamma means that Buddha stopped eating together. So So that's what Buddha and the monks did. So they stopped eating together with Bhikkhu Channa. And at some point, Channa was becoming serious about, Bhikkhu Channa was becoming serious about his thoughts, about the conceit, right? He was trying to, accelerate his mana towards the Buddha and the other monks. So then what Buddha had to do is, Buddha asked Bhante Ananda, the Venerable Ananda, to impose Brahmadanda on him. So Brahmadanda is supreme penalty in the Buddhist teachings. In Buddhism, there is no punishments. Those literal punishments. The highest punishment in the Buddhist teaching is Brahmadanda, supreme penalty. What is Brahmadanda? Brahmadanda is stop talking to that person. So it's the same thing, right? So Brahmadanda and the sort of killing that we see in the Kesi Sutta seem similar, because in the Kesi Sutta, Buddha says, if I find somebody who can be a part of these three trainings, either gentle, harsh, or a combination of gentle and harsh, then I'm gonna stop teaching. I'm gonna stop. When you say stop teaching, I would say stop talking too, right? So, that is in other way the Brahmadanda. It's the same Brahmadanda. So what Buddha had to do with Bhikkhu Channa, so he had to, sort of stop talking everything, right? So he got the Brahmadanda. So Brahmadanda is the highest penalty in the Buddhist in the noble training. So that's something interesting. And you know what happened? Buddha could not impose Brahmadanda, but Venerable Ananda imposed Brahmadanda after Buddha's passing away. What Buddha could do was that Ukepaniya comes. So he he imposed the formal act of suspension, but still Buddha and other monks were talking. But after Buddha passed away, there was no good management about this particular Bhikkhu Channa, so Venerable Ananda had to impose a Brahmadanda after the Buddha's death. So, you know what happened? So when there was a total boycott of Channa by imposing Brahmadanda, what happened? Bhikkhu Channa fainted at Goshitaram of Kosambi. So this is given in Lakhana Channa Sutta in Samyutta Nikaya 22.90. So Channa was really unhappy when everybody stopped talking to him. When the Brahmadanda was in real operation, in full swing. So now you understand that the three type of trainings at the same time. What did Buddha do with the people who can be tamed? So that is what we call by stop teaching them. Buddha still try, but Buddha understand at some point that there is this is not worth doing. So and not even the Buddha, he also talks about Vinyu Sabrahmachari. That means it could be the Buddha, it could be somebody else. Spiritual companions, I would say wise beings. Now in our life, if you take our life, if you know there are spiritual companions, Kalyana Mittas, so if they stop talking to you, if they stop being with you, that's something what I call giving you the depth. So nobody wants to receive the depth in that spirituality. So we want this spirituality to go at all times, right? So we gotta be very careful, because we should try to the things that I want you to think about from the sutta is that we should try to learn Dhamma in the first training, which you call gentle training. In case we can't get it, at least we should try the second one, the harsh training, if not the third one, but not to be a part of the fourth category, in which we understand we can become people who can be tamed. So they are the most interesting things that I wanted to mention to you. Also, let's also talk about this training thing. Now, this whole sutta is about the nature of noble training. Now we know we have to discipline us in sila, samadhi, and panya, right? So we need to listen to Dhamma talks. We need to more than listen to Dhamma talk. We need to practice Dhamma, uh, you know, at all times. Not even practicing Dhamma, we have to. I mean, how do we explain practice? So practice is not just putting what I know in the Dhamma into normal action. We have to bring that practice into a wisdom. So wisdom is also a practice, but we had to sort of identify our contents of the practice. So say sila is the first part of our practice, samadhi is the second, panya is the third. But it doesn't mean that you practice sila, samadhi, panya differently. So you practice sila, samadhi, panya at all times. So while you're practicing, you need insights. You need what do you call custom-tailored advices from the Buddha, but you can't find the Buddha. But you have the Dhamma books, the original Pali texts, so you can consult those texts. If you don't know, you can ask a monk or someone who can be an expert about the text. Not only that, what about now? If we say that the Buddha is not anymore with us, then what about approaching the spiritual companions like Kalyana Mittas? So they can help you a lot. They can help you figure out the stumbling blocks in our noble training. I mean, even though you learn Dhamma from internet, from books, but there are maybe things that you still want to discuss with a Kalyana Mitta, because books, if the books seem everything, I think then we don't need to consult someone. We don't need to we will just watch Dhamma talks and we will be able to practice. It's not enough. So we need to discuss. We need to sometimes rationalize, because rationalization is very important too, without being too much intellectual, because when you are too much intellectual, you might sometimes attach to language, but we need a sort of some level of rationalization. So sila, samadhi, panya, at the same time discussing, rationalizing to a certain extent, sharing the Dhamma, each other, all that, have to go every time. We need to look at this noble training differently. That's how we're going to practice the Dhamma. And let's wish that none of us going to be a person of the fourth category, where we saw untamable people, right, who couldn't get any of the training called gentle, harsh, or a combination of the both. Any questions? Let me see. So what is the kind of training you had today? This noble training. This is I did not talk about duccharita, evil side, or repercussions of evil side. I only talk about the wholesome good side of actions, speech, and the mind. So this is going to be a gentle type of training. So okay, so let's share all the good karmas and wrap this up. May all the good karmas we've been collecting, accumulating so far, be shared by all the departed individuals who passed away in the name of all of us. May they be happy and peaceful. May they attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Idam me ñāti nang hotu sukhita huntu ñātayo. Also, we need to share all the good karmas with the deities who protect and bless all of us. May all the deities share in all these good karmas. May they be happy and peaceful. May they also attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Ettavata cha ammehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbe bhuta anumodantu Sabbe satta anumodantu. Sabba sampatti siddhya. Akasattha chibummatta devanaga mahindika. Punyantang anumoditva. Chirang rakkang tulu kasasanang. Chirang rakkang tudesanang. Chirang rakkang tvang paranti. Finally, let's make a great wish, and this is the great wish we all have all the time, even until we die. Main wish should be to attain Nibbana. So, may all the good karmas we've been accumulating in all these ways be helpful for all of us to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm going to be blessing you with a couple more stanzas. Please receive the blessings. Abhivadana silis nichang vadha prachayino chattaru dhamma vadhanti ayuvannu sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminati saminjatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you. Have a good day. Take care.